is the best way for it. So here's again a picture of the field which the Healy coil creates. Remember, the Healy coil is a double coil. So on both sides, here it is visible, from the other side it's not visible. There is a coil which creates a magnetic field. But they're connected in the middle. So the one side is creating a field in this direction, and the other is creating a field in this direction. So plus minus is 0. We are creating a 0 field, means it's a magnetic field, but it doesn't have any energy in the field. It doesn't create a force. It doesn't create a force on the particles, like the electrons which are moving in the field, or other charged particles. So how does it affect matter? How does it affect at all? So it doesn't affect on this level, but already intuition tells us if we have a positive plus a negative effect, each has an energy. It doesn't cancel really to 0, but it creates something in the background. It creates a background field, and this is called a potential. It's the electromagnetic potential which works on the quantum level. It works on the wave function of the particle. So it's a deeper level. It works on the informational level, but it's a clearly physical level which was discovered by David Bohm and Aharonov, and it became very famous as the Bohm-Aharonov effect, which is known since the 50s, and especially now there are a lot of scientific publications on it. And so that's the level on which Healy coils actually transfers the frequencies, which are generated by the frequency generator of your Healy. When you connect it to the Healy coil, it becomes one, and it's so beautifully compact. I'm really loving it. In the last weeks, I'm mainly using the Healy in this way. Actually, right now, because of some issues, I'm giving it to my children every day, to my daughter and to my son. Actually, they have to use it with cables. I didn't tell them yet that there's a coil, so that if they would know, they would say, "Oh, Dad, give me the one with the coil. It's much easier. I don't have the cables," but I don't want it because at that time also I didn't have the results of the study yet, and I believe in the cables. So it's not that the coil replaces the cables. No, you can't use the medical applications with the coil because they are working on a different level. So it's a question on which level do the cables work, Healy with cables, with microcurrent, on which level does the coil work, and on which level does the resonance module of Healy work. It's 3 different levels. And this is what I want to talk about now. Actually, here in this graphic, you see the magnetic field, which actually is 0, but still you see the field lines. But here, this little reddish, like a finger, pointing out of the Healy in both directions, that's the magnetic potential. It's called also the vector potential. So the waves emanating from it are vector potential waves, and you shouldn't confuse it with scalar waves, because scalar waves, as the name already says, is waves in a scalar field, but the quantum, the potential, it's a vector potential. So behind the electric field, there's a scalar potential. Behind the magnetic field, there's a vector potential, and many times this is confused. So in a strict terminology, scientifically, this is not scalar waves, but it's waves in the vector potential, which is also working on the quantum level. So all this, let's go to the last slide, which I have prepared for you, and I show it to you now. Don't get shocked. So what I'm presenting to you is emerging science. It's not really the orthodox view of science and orthodox medicine on how a human being functions and what different scientific levels are there, but it's my view on reality, including consciousness, including quantum processes, including information field, including matter, and I try to put it all into one diagram. And I have written a 60-page paper on it in English language with more than 175 scientific references to actually base my view, my personal view, on scientists like David Bohm, like Roger Penrose, also like the researchers from the Peer Lab, like Professor Prigozhin and Pibram, and so many others who have already talked about the importance of information and frequency. But this model I'm showing you is not the orthodox science or medicine view on a human being, but it's an emerging view. Here it is. So again, I think, Frank, you can switch me to the right corner down here, so that the yeah, that's fine. Also good. So here I put together all the different levels systematically of a whole human being as I see it. So where am I? I am in the middle. Imagine yourself to be in the middle of this diagram. And if you look to your front, actually now probably you're looking into your computer screen, or you're looking into your mobile phone. Actually, I'm also looking into this computer screen now, and now I'm looking at the lake. Now I'm looking back at you indirectly. So this is the direction, the front direction, into which our consciousness is directed. It's focused. It's the foreground of reality. I would like to call it the explicit order. David Bohm called it in this way. It's manifested in space and time, and that's the realm of manifest physics. It's actually the realm of matter. It's down here. Here is our material body with its environment, which is very important, and the larger environment, the universe. Our body consists of molecules. They consist of elementary particles and atoms, but the molecules, they are forming larger subsystems like biological macromolecules. They're forming cell organelles, and we have the cell with the cell membrane around, and they're coming together to form tissues and organs, and then we have the organism. So that's going on down here. But this material molecular body is permeated by what we call the electromagnetic body, which has a down and an upside. The downside of the electromagnetic body, it's actually electric potentials and electrical particles flowing through the cell membrane, flowing through the matrix in which our cells are embedded, and they're creating potential differences, and therefore like voltages, for example, between the intracellular and the extracellular space. So that's an important electrical structure which needs to be intact, which needs to be strong in order to have a strong environment in which our molecules, which are ions also, which are charged, which have electrons, can function well. And the upper side of the electromagnetic body is fields. It's very weak, ultra weak electromagnetic fields, which some scientists call, like Fritz Albert Popp call, biophotons. It's quantum already, it's electromagnetic fields or radiation within our body, which already exhibits quantum properties like entanglement, like coherence and stuff. It's almost like biological laser light. So this is the material aspect. But I believe that this material body down here is mirrored, and the mirror axis is the quantum level, quantum processes, quantum fields, and the upper side, the mirror image, is the information field. This is what David Bohm calls the implicit order. It's information by nature. It's not matter. And information has a material side and a spiritual side. On the one side, it acts on our body. On the other side, it's consciousness, because information is nothing material, but it interacts with the material system. So I read a wonderful book from an Italian professor, and I can recommend it to you. His name is Giuseppe Vitiello. Giuseppe Vitiello. He's a very recognized quantum field theorist. And together with two eminent neurobiology scholars, Professor Freeman and Japanese Professor Omozawa, he published, very well published, developed a theory that we have a double in the quantum vacuum. And this is related to our consciousness. And that's pure information. So I like this idea that my material explicit order has a double behind the curtain in the unmanifest background of reality, in the information field, or call it the quantum vacuum. And this double is our information field. And the lower part of the information field, I like to call the bioenergetic field, which is related to our subtle body. But there are other parts like the mind and the soul, which together create the individual information field, which is again, like our body is embedded in the universe, which is again embedded in a global information field. So all this constitutes the information field, which is constituted by quantum entanglement. So I like the idea of a double. So the explicit Marcus is sitting here in front of you, but I feel that there is an implicit Marcus. It's a background of my consciousness. I'm sitting on this chair, but there is a background. We call it the unconscious. And if we go deeper into our own unconscious, we can discover words. In the beginning, it's personal words. It's kind of a shadow. But if we go deeper, we come closer to the level we call soul. But if we go even deeper, the space within opens up wider and wider until it becomes so wide that it's not our own individual personal space anymore, but we start to connect with the individual personal spaces of the other conscious beings around us. We reach down to a level where we are one. Then we find that the individual information field kind of merges into a larger global information field. Call it the collective unconscious. So that's the counterpart, that's the double of us. And in the double, there are actually different laws. Professor Vitiello Giuseppe Vitiello is of the opinion, together with Freeman and Omozawa, that whenever we touch this level of the quantum vacuum, our double, from this events, two types of time process emanate. One time process is a wave which propagates to the future. And that's normal, because if I do something now, like this, or send an email, this sends a wave to the future. So it causes in the future certain events. So if I send an email to one of you, you will read it, you will answer, and we start a whole conversation which will change the world to some small degree. So whatever I do now through a wave which propagates towards the future initiates a time forward causality. But on this deep quantum field level, all physical processes are symmetrical. Symmetrical means that whatever propagates in time forward, also because of time symmetry, propagates time backwards. So we have two waves, one going to the future, one going to the past. So what does it mean? Events from the future send waves to the past. So imagine now, we are here now. So we are receiving waves from the past, which are actually the causes of the effects which we are experiencing right now. For example, I had lunch maybe 2 hours ago. So what I was eating is influencing my well-being right now. That's a wave from the past. But we are receiving also on this deeper level waves from the future right now. Imagine. So the present moment on this deeper level is something like an interference of waves coming in from the past and waves coming in from the future. So it's not so simple that, okay, oh my God, I have done a mistake in the past, so that's a result. But the presence is also a result of of everything to come. So if this is interfering, if this is creating the extended quantum presence, it means that everything is connected by meaning, that nothing really happens by chance, that we are connected with visions which realize in the future. Like I had a webinar recently with Spanish-speaking members. It was, I think, more than 1,500. And a leader in the beginning, he said, oh, when I started Healy, I didn't believe you would become so successful. I said, no, I don't believe it. You started it because in this moment you received a wave from now where you are so successful with Healy. And this created an intuition. It created a feeling. It created a wave in your subconscious, in your unconscious. And they are overlapping with your experience from the past. And they're creating this miracle of nowness, of presence, in which we are connected on so many deep levels, with the level of purpose, with the level of intention, with the level of our values and our spiritual values. So the deepest levels within us connect us through our whole lifetime, from birth to death. And there are even larger correlations which connect the purpose of our life with a greater meaning, with which we have within this universe. So I believe this is a deep quantum level which we intend to touch. And the Healy can't touch it itself because it's just a lump of matter and electronics. The Healy can't do it, even with the physical quantum noise generator in the back, which is analyzing the frequencies. No, it can't. It can't. It's just electronics. It only functions together with you. It only functions together with your head and your heart, with your consciousness. Your consciousness, the ability of your consciousness to touch the information field, quantum entangles with the Healy. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. By itself, it's just a bunch of matter, and worse, just the ingredients of the electronics, some $100, nothing more. So, and the work, of course. So it's really a partnership. It's a quantum entanglement of you, your intention, your purpose with the information field through the Healy. And I believe with the coil, we are touching down to this deeper level. So therefore, the coil here on this side, it's represented by the green arrow. And the green arrow has the shining green part in the middle. So the coil acts on the level of the potential, electromagnetic potential, quantum potential. It interacts with the phase of the wave function, which is the informational level. So it works here. And of course, it reaches up to the bioenergetic field. It also reaches down to the upper level of the electromagnetic field. So that's the middle area, which is covered by the coil. And from there, it reaches down deeper and it reaches higher, and it uses real physical frequencies which you can measure in hertz. So it's a physical process. The same physical process we have with the cables. Healy, if you use it with the coil or with the cables, creates the same frequencies with the same process touching the information field, also involving your consciousness, or better, your unconscious intentions. But because it modulates the frequencies, not on a quantum potential, but on electrical current, which you can measure, which is flowing through the arms or locally through your tissues, through your body, to your cells. It reaches down, and it has its priority somewhere between the material, molecular, and the electrical or electromagnetic body. Obviously, it's working here, but it reaches up, especially through the higher frequencies, also to the quantum level and to the bioenergetic field. So there is an overlapping, but the center of the cable applications of the microcurrent frequencies is down here, And then approximately here, the central area of effect of the coil starts approximately until there. Of course, it still reaches up and down. And then the Healy resonance takes over. And the Healy resonance, and it's so important to understand, doesn't use the frequencies in hertz generated by the frequency generator, but it's working through the physical noise process. It's a random event generator, which is quantum process based on the quantum shot noise. And this is going through quantum entanglement. So it's on a different level. So if you take them all together, and purposely I choose the colors of the rainbow, you have the blue part, left side of the spectrum. Then you have a green and the yellow and the orange. It's becoming red, and then it becoming infrared. So we want the whole spectrum, because if you take all the colors of the rainbow together, you get the white color, the shining white color of the sun, or you get the shining white color of the Healy. So Healy is emanating this kind of light metaphorically, and we want the whole spectrum. We want the shining white light, and I believe now we are complete. We have covered with a cable, with a coil, with a resonance, all the three important areas. We can say the electromagnetic, the quantum, and the bioenergetic, or informational, and this makes me really happy that we managed so quickly to complete this range of the spectrum of human wholeness. So, and if you use the Healy, especially with the Healy coil, metaphorically, you can understand that Healy is sitting on the same place where your consciousness sits. It's in the center. It's in between the material and the spiritual. It's between the bodily and the informational aspect of reality, and it's connecting. It's connecting by an ongoing process, and these processes are in ancient traditions. They are called chi or prana. In modern terminology, we call it bioenergetic processes or quantum processes. And this is the level from where Healy is supposed to work and connect us and increase our coherence. So this was just a little overview, and I have written the 60 pages on it, and many have already asked me, and I'm still hesitating to get it published in this way, because I have made a small excerpt, I boiled down the 60 pages to around 12 pages, and I'm also submitting it for a scientific journal to get published. And afterwards, I want to publish it so that everyone can access this large version also. So please wait a little until it gets published. But until then, I can always transport parts of this knowledge through this kind of webinars. So thank you very much for your attention today. I hope it helped you to understand a little more deeper what you have in your hands. I would say the shining light which you have in your hands, which helps you to stay connected. So again, thank you so much for your endeavor in Healy work. Thank you for using Healy, because if you use Healy, it fulfills my life purpose. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very